Hi, aloha, again and again. I want to talk to you today about our final circle that we did almost every single day because I didn't know how to keep our family in balance without it. And we called this circle Sabbath, and it came from the word sabatu, I think. I can't remember even what language it was because this was like 20 years ago, but it meant, as far as we understood it, to listen to the heart, to return to the heart. So because our children were suicidal and homicidal and depressed and all of that, it was absolutely necessary to get them calm before they went to bed. Otherwise, there would be night terrors and screaming and people not sleeping, and you get the idea. But what I want to say is that I've done this with endless families. I've done it with innumerable groups of adults, communities, and I've done it with families that consider themselves normal, if there is such a thing. But it always is a blessing. So the way we would do it is that we would gather and I would ask a question. I'd always start with something positive because that's what works best for any of us. And so I'd say, tell me what you did today that you're proud of. And the kids would be sitting, the staff members, we had volunteer staff, and so they'd be sitting in their laps and our laps and each other's laps, and the teenagers that we'd taken off the street, and sometimes even their birth parents. So they'd be sitting in their laps, and I'd say, tell me what you're proud of today. And it could be anything. I was proud that I helped with dinner, or I was proud that I was kind to this person or that person. I remember one daughter, and forgive me if I've told you this because I can never remember, but I remember one daughter who was brand new, and this was her first Sabbath, and I said, what are you proud of? And she just looked at me with a challenge in her eyes, and she said, I am so proud when I take the knife that I have hidden in my pocket and I cut the person next to me and I watch the blood drip down. So we learned a lot even from what are you proud of? But in that way, we didn't have to confront. We could say, that must have made you feel really powerful, but in our family, we don't do it that way. We find other ways of being in our power. So then we would move to the next question was, who do you need to apologize, or what do you wish you had known how to do differently today? And we would explain that nobody needed to have guilt, and if they were telling a story that they were really embarrassed about, then one of us adults would chime in and say, yeah, I remember the time that I did so-and-so and I was so embarrassed and I wished I had known how to be different. So we went through everybody clearing with everybody every day so that there was never a going to bed where you were still mad at somebody or you got your feelings hurt by somebody. And then finally, our third question was, tell me how wonderful you are, or what a gift you are to the world. And by this time, it was hard for them to answer because they'd gotten so calm that they were almost asleep. And so few people would say, oh, I think when I grow up, I'm going to be a teacher, or I'm going to be a good dad, or, whatever. But I gave them a chance to envision themselves as being a blessing. So then we would sing to them, sometimes kumbaya, whatever. We would sing to them, and then by then most of the little kids, and I'll tell you, these Sabbaths had kids that were from the age of infants all the way up until 17, 18, 19. But even the little kids, they didn't get restless because there was so much peace, so much love, so much tenderness, so much honoring, and you could say anything you were afraid of, and it would get dealt with in a kind and loving way. And so then the big kids, and I loved especially when the big teenagers, we had teenagers who had been sent to us partly by the state and partly by other people, because they had done, who knows if they had really done these things, but shot at policemen or stole from this person or held somebody at gunpoint. And somehow even they got to be heroes during this time of Sabbath. And so they would scoop up the little kids in their arms and take them to bed and tuck them in. But that wasn't the end of Sabbath. Almost every night, teenagers would come back, the birth parents would be there, the volunteer staff would be there, and we would have what they called real Sabbath. And real Sabbath was when we talked about sex, talked about drugs, talked about what we were most ashamed of and embarrassed about, talked about our wildest dreams that we didn't think could possibly come true. And we just sat there and listened to each other. Sometimes, I don't know, it must have been like 2 o'clock in the morning. And I remember one very special night where it went on so long that it was probably 2:30 or 3, and the teenagers and the birth parents of some of the kids came and scooped up my husband and I and put us in bed and covered us so tenderly because we were already almost asleep. I hope that you try some version of this for yourself, because I can't tell you the difference it makes. Not only no more nightmares, but people now understood why they're being hooked by various people. They're being angry, they're being obnoxious. And every day we worked out another level of intensity until finally there was just love. Thank you so much.